I'll give it to you straight. What happened on Shasta wasn't in any briefing, and it sure as hell wasn't natural. I've seen combat, seen people do awful things, but nothing prepared me for what was under that mountain. Some nights, when it gets real quiet, I still hear the clicking. If you want to know why I don't camp in the woods anymore, or why I flinch when the ground vibrates, then listen close. I'll tell you what we found in those caves and what tried to keep us there. So before we continue, please make sure to like and subscribe to support the channel and comment down below where you're watching from. Thanks. I still remember the cold that morning. Thin mountain air biting through my fleece even before sunrise. Late autumn on the south side of Shasta always felt mean, like the mountain didn't want people around. Snow clung to the higher ridges in dirty patches, and the sky had that heavy look that meant a storm was waiting for the right moment to dump on us. We were set up in a small forward site off a forestry road that wasn't even on half the maps. Just a couple of tents, a generator, one Humvee, and a utility truck full of survey gear. Quiet. Too quiet for a place that usually had birds and wind and the usual forest noise. Back then, I chalked it up to being early and cold. I had no idea. Name Staff Sergeant Daniel Reyes. Been in the Army long enough that the years blur. Recon, small teams, dusty roads in Afghanistan, alleyways in Syria. A civilian guy died on one of those missions. My call. I still carry that. It sits in the back of my mind during every op. Makes me double-check angles, keep people close, stay ahead of stupid. My squad knows I take things seriously. They trust me for it, even if they roll their eyes. That morning, I walked into the briefing tent with a cup of burnt coffee, and that same feeling I always got before weird missions. No one said the word weird, but everyone knew. You don't bring a recon squad and a USGS scientist out to a new cave without expecting something off. Inside the tent, the squad was doing their usual routine. Danner, our medic, was leaning back in his chair, boots up, grinning at Collins. "Pull that strap one more time and it'll be tighter than your first date," he said. Private Collins, barely out of training, red-faced and frustrated, tugged at his ruck's shoulder strap. "It's twisted, man. I swear this thing wasn't like this yesterday." "Everything works fine until you touch it," Danner shot back. Hutch, our veteran rifleman, just snorted and kept field stripping his rifle, like none of this mattered. Nothing rattled him, not even the rookie's frustration. Park, our comms and drone operator, sat at the folding table with the radio and her drone case open. She kept frowning at her handheld device. "GPS is garbage around here," she muttered. "Magnetics are jumping, and that's before we're even next to the cave." "Great." I moved past her and checked the map taped to the wall. "We'll run line of sight when GPS dies. Radio relay stays with me." Short bursts. "Don't rely on anything fancy." She nodded, but her hands were already busy troubleshooting. Park didn't like unknowns. She was good at hiding nerves, but I'd worked with her enough to read when something got under her skin. Dr. Pierce walked in a moment later. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, hair pulled back, all business. She carried a tablet stuffed with charts and data. I'd met scientists before. Most didn't do field work this far out. She did. Or at least pretended she wasn't bothered by it. Right behind her came Thomas Gray, contractor liaison. Smooth talker. Too smooth. He wore outdoorsy gear that still looked brand new. Said he worked with a company that helped the government with underground scanning. I still don't know his real job. He acted like a man who knew something but didn't want to say it. "Staff Sergeant Reyes," he said, giving me a polite nod. "Appreciate the escort." "Just doing the job," I answered. "You two know the plan?" "Doctor." Pierce nodded. We approached the site. I deploy equipment at the cave mouth. "We take readings." "We leave," Gray added. "We check for signs of the missing surveyors, but only what's safe. They might have been trapped by rockfall." Something about how he said it bothered me. Too neat, too quick. But I didn't push it yet. Our mission wasn't search and rescue. Not officially, just security. Protect the civilians while they scanned a fresh cave opening caused by a small landslide 2 days earlier. But 2 surveyors from Gray's company had gone missing inside. That alone made me tighten procedures. Missing people in a new cave is never simple. We loaded up. I took the lead Humvee with Hutch and Collins. Danner parked the dock and Gray rode in the utility truck behind us with the gear. Engines grumbled in the cold. The forest on either side of the road looked the same as any other mountain road, dense pines, damp earth. that smell of rot and resin mixed together. But after a few minutes, the forest went unnervingly quiet. "Where are the birds?" Collins asked, looking out the window. "Probably sleeping," Hutch said without looking up. But I knew the sound of a quiet forest. This wasn't sleep. This was absence. As we climbed farther up, the wind carried a sour smell. Not strong, but enough to make you wrinkle your nose. "What the hell is that?" Danner asked over the radio. Park chimed in. "Sulfur? Or some kind of vent gas?" Dr. Pierce answered. "Could be geothermal. Could be exposed minerals. Could be nothing." Gray stayed silent. We approached the site 20 minutes later. A few forestry markers surrounded a clearing where the earth had slumped into a shallow sinkhole. Rocks, broken branches, a taped-off area with cones and leftover survey gear. The sky above us was a flat sheet of gray. I parked the Humvee and stepped out. Boots crunched on frosted ground. The air tasted stale near the hole, like old water in something faintly rotten. "That smells worse here," Danner muttered. "Stay sharp," I told them. Standard perimeter. Nothing stupid. Buddy system. The sinkhole wasn't large, maybe 30 feet across, but deep enough to swallow a truck if someone drove too close. At the bottom was a dark gap in the rock. The new cave. Doctor. Pierce lowered herself toward the edge and clicked on a headlamp. Gray hovered near her shoulder. "This wasn't here last week," she said. "Seismic readings showed hollows, but nothing this open." Gray added, "The surveyors came down here before the landslide. They were checking resonances. Probably got caught when the rock shifted." He didn't sound convinced. I scanned the clearing. A chair knocked on its side. A laptop left half open on a folding table, battery dead. A pair of gloves by a rock. Stuff left out like people walked away mid-task. "Doc," I said, "your surveyors leave in a hurry." She glanced at the scene and frowned. "Doesn't look organized." Park walked toward the cave with her radio raised. "Reyes, I'm getting interference. Not just signal drop, weird bounce patterns." "Stay out of the hole," I told her. "Work from here." She nodded but kept fiddling. I moved closer to the cave edge. Rock looked scraped in odd ways, not slide marks, not natural breaks. Parallel grooves in the stone, looping in strange curves. Looked like something dragged or carved its way over years. I didn't like it. Dr. Pierce finished adjusting her sensors and looked at her tablet. Her face tightened. "What is it?" I asked. "These readings," she said quietly. "The hollow spaces down there are bigger than expected. And something else." She pointed to a heat map, moving pockets of warmth. "Multiple. Deeper down." Gray swallowed but said nothing. Then, faintly from somewhere below, I heard a clicking sound. Not loud, not clear, just enough to make the hair on my arms rise. Danner heard it too. "What was that?" "Insects? Probably rock shift," Gray said too quickly. The clicking stopped. I didn't like any of it, and that was just the beginning. We reached the cave site proper around midday, though the sky looked stuck in late evening. Clouds hung low, thick enough that the light felt dull and dirty. The clearing felt wrong the second we stepped into it. No wind, no birds, no rustle of branches, just cold air and us. The sinkhole dropped about 15 feet into a bowl of loose shale and broken stone. Someone had set up caution tape earlier, but half of it was on the ground now, torn loose and flapping in the weak gusts that occasionally pushed down the slope. Gray pointed toward the equipment scattered around. Our survey team had their main setup there. They checked in on the radio the first morning. After that, nothing. Dr. Pierce crouched near a half-buried metal case. "Why leave this out? This is expensive." "Probably rushed," Gray said again. "Too rehearsed." I didn't argue. I scanned the edges of the hole, sharp grooves carved into exposed stone. Not cracks, not crumble. Lines that curved, almost traced their own path across the surface. "Hutch," I said, "watch the ridge." He angled his rifle upslope and got into position. No questions asked. Park walked toward a tripod with the sensor still attached. The display was dead. She frowned and tapped it. "Looks like it shut off mid-use," she said. "They didn't pack anything up." Danner pointed at a glove stuck halfway down the slope. "Someone dropped them. Looks fresh." He slid down a few feet, grabbed it, and climbed back up. It was a left-hand climbing glove. Dirt on the palm, fingers bent backward. Not torn completely, but stressed like someone yanked it hard. Someone was in a hurry, Danner muttered. Doctor. Pierce knelt beside the sinkhole. These surfaces are too smooth for a new collapse. Something polished parts of this rock. For a long time. Gray cleared his throat. Geothermal water flow can do that. Pierce didn't bother looking at him. Not with these patterns. I took a knee near them. Doc, you think the surveyors climbed down there? They did, she said. Look. She pointed to a broken headlamp wedged in a crack. That's one of theirs. Collins looked nervous but tried not to show it. So maybe they fell? Then there should have been a call, I said. They had working radios. Park called to me from behind her gear. Reyes, you need to hear this. I walked over. She held her radio up. Static's normal in caves, she said. But listen. She keyed the mic. The speaker barked white noise except underneath. Something pulsed in a slow rhythm. A weird, soft distortion. Not signal loss. Not scrambling. Something bouncing. It's like the sound's getting bent around down there, she said. And it's coming from the cave mouth. Could be resonance, Gray said quickly. Could be, Park agreed, but her face said otherwise. The truck bed rattled as Dr. Pierce dragged out her ground sensors and started assembling them. She moved with that serious, methodical confidence that kept me grounded. Even she, though, kept glancing toward the sinkhole. Gray hovered close to her, tapping at a device of his own, some handheld scanner with no markings. He kept shielding the screen from view, shifting it away whenever anyone drifted too near. I leaned in. Your company usually hide readouts from the Army. He stiffened. Just proprietary tech. That another word for classified? I asked. He didn't answer. Figures. A few minutes passed with only the rustle of gear. Then the wind died again completely. Trees stood motionless. The whole mountain seemed to hold its breath. Down in the sinkhole, the rock made a low vibration, barely noticeable. But I felt it through my boots. Collins noticed too. Earthquake? No, Dr. Pierce said, adjusting her tablet. Something further down. Not enough to shake the surface. I scanned the tree line again. Still nothing. No animals. No sound. Reyes, Park said softly. She wasn't calling to me for orders. It was the voice people use when they want someone else to confirm a thing they don't trust. She pointed at the cave. I listened. A faint clicking noise echoed up the rock funnel. Slow. Crisp. Almost like someone tapping two stones together in a deliberate pattern. Click, click, click. Click. Then silence. Danner exhaled. Anyone else hear that? Hikers sometimes explore caves, Gray muttered. Could be equipment shifting. He didn't believe it. None of us did. Dr. Pierce interrupted with a flat, serious tone. I've got readings. We gathered around the tablet. A rough 3D map bloomed across the screen. Hollow spaces, long tubes running downward, pockets of open air the size of buildings. This cavern system is massive, she murmured. Older than we thought. And here, she pointed to several small shapes glowing faint orange. Heat signatures. Movement patterns. These aren't stable. These are warm-blooded. How many? I asked. Hard to say. More than a few. Bigger than bats. Much bigger. The wind returned with a cold sweep that rattled the caution tape. At the same moment, that clicking from below rose again. Faster this time. Then stopped so abruptly it felt intentional. I stepped between the scientists and the hole. No one goes near the edge alone, I said. Buddy system from here on. Park nodded. Danner slung his aid bag higher on his shoulder. Collins tightened his grip on his rifle. Gray didn't look at me. He kept staring into the hole, jaw tight, like he'd expected exactly this. I leaned close. You know something you're not telling me? He didn't answer right away. Then, my people picked up odd readings weeks ago. Probably nothing. Seismic noise, cavity movement. Probably nothing, I asked. His eyes flicked away. We don't want to mislead anyone. I wanted to push harder, but Dr. tossed her. Pierce's tablet beeped again. She looked at a fresh graph. Her face changed, not scared but unsettled. These heat spots, she whispered. They moved, then vanished like something dropped out of range. How big? I asked again. Too early to say. But there's more life down there than we thought. She said it quietly, almost to herself. And right after she spoke, from deep inside the new cave, The clicking came again. This time it rose in a steady beat, and then it cut off, sharp as a switch thrown. We all looked at each other. Something was down there, and it knew we were here. The air got heavier as the day dragged on. Clouds sagged lower. The smell near the sinkhole turned sharper, like damp stone mixed with something rotten. We stayed on task, but everyone felt it. Even Hutch kept glancing toward the cave instead of pretending nothing bothered him. Park got her drone prepped. A small, tough quadcopter built for tight spaces. She knelt at the edge with Hutch holding her belt so she didn't slip. "Launching," she said. The drone dropped into the sinkhole, then leveled out and buzzed into the dark opening. Its little headlamp flicked on, showing a steep tunnel leading downward. The walls looked scraped smooth in strange strips, like rough stone had been polished at random angles. "Feed is clean," Park said. We crowded around her tablet. The video showed the tunnel dropping fast. Sometimes the drone had to tilt to squeeze through narrowing sections. Mineral deposits glistened. Thin streaks along the ceiling looked like claw marks or long strands of rock pulled down in parallel. "That's weird," Danner muttered. "Looks like something dragged itself along there." "Could be water erosion," Gray said. "Mineral runoff." No one responded because even he didn't sound convinced. The drone continued deeper. Temperature readings rose. Humidity climbed. That by itself wasn't strange. Deep caves can get warm, but the pattern felt wrong. After 60 or 70 feet, the feed stuttered. The video froze for half a second. "Hold on," Park whispered, tapping the screen. In that frozen frame, something pale stretched across the upper edge of the image. Long, lean, like an arm or tail. Smooth surface catching the drone's light. Then the frame snapped. The feed went black. Static washed across the tablet. "Signal lost," Park said. "How?" Collins asked. "You had line of sight through the drone." "Interference," she said. "Something blocked it or crushed it." Gray's face tightened. He tried to look calm, but sweat already gathered at his hairline. I scanned the sinkhole again. "Park, don't lean over that edge without someone holding you." She nodded and backed away from it. A few minutes passed while Dr. Tarji Pierce adjusted her ground equipment again. She kept checking the cave like she expected something to show in the open. Collins and I moved along the perimeter line, checking rope anchors from the survey team. A taut rope dangled into the hole from one of the stakes left behind. Wind was dead, but the rope trembled. "Why is it moving?" Collins asked. "Maybe tension from a lower snag," I said. We approached the stake slowly. The rope vibrated again. Then it jerked downward. Collins flinched and stepped back. "What the?" I grabbed his vest before he slipped. The rope shook again, harder this time, then fell slack. I pulled it up. The lower half had been frayed, not rubbed or torn, cut at sharp angles. Collins swallowed. "That wasn't rock fall." "No," I said. "It wasn't." Danner walked over. "That rope looks chewed." "Not chewed," I said. "Cut. Clean. Fantastic," he muttered. Dr. Pierce called out. "Reyes." We joined her. She pointed to her tablet. A new seismic chart pulsed on the screen, short, rhythmic tremors. "These micro-events," she said. "They aren't random. They move in patterns." "Like what?" I asked. "Like footsteps," she said. "Multiple. Heavy ones." Gray shifted beside her. "Could be equipment echoes. Metallic bouncing." She shook her head. "Not like this." Danner waved us over to a rock near the far side of the clearing. "Found something. A smear of dried blood, thin as a finger, old enough to darken but not old enough to crack. It sat near the anchor point of the secondary rope line." "No footprints?" I asked. "No drag marks either," he said. "If someone bled here, they didn't walk out. Or they got pulled down," Collins said quietly. Nobody argued. I tried the radio, trying to reach command. "Forward sight, this is Recon 1. Checking in, static." A distorted hum. Then, faintly, buried under the noise, a voice. It was soft, strangled, almost like someone trying to speak underwater. Then it disappeared. "Reyes," Park said, "I can't clean it. Something down there is bending the signal." The entire clearing felt tighter now, like the air wanted us gone. "Dr. Tar aid." Pierce straightened. "If the surveyors are alive, even one of them, they're below the first chamber. We need to confirm their status." Gray nodded too fast. "Agreed. They could still be down there." Of course he wanted us to go in. Whatever had his company so worked up was down that hole. I didn't want to take civilians underground, but I also had orders: protect them while they examine the site. And if even one surveyor was alive, we couldn't just walk away. I exhaled slowly. Limited insertion, one team. We go only to the first chamber. No wandering, no hero work. Park's voice cracked. Radio signals going to tank once we're inside. We stay tight, I said. Nobody breaks line of sight. Collins nodded hard. Danner checked his aid bag again. Hutch just stared at the hole, quiet as ever. Gray and Doctor. Pierce clipped into the ropes with practiced motions. She looked nervous but steady. Gray looked like he'd been waiting for this moment. We set our headlamps, checked harnesses, locked in carabiners. The air near the cave mouth felt different, warmer, thicker, humid where it shouldn't be. I stepped to the edge and began lowering myself in. Rock dust scraped against my gloves. The darkness below felt alive. Halfway down, I paused. The clicking returned, closer now, slow, repeating. Not random, deliberate, and waiting for us. The rope lowered us into a tight vertical shaft that smelled like damp stone and old air. My headlamp sliced through the dark just enough to show the walls curving inward as we dropped. The rock wasn't sharp or jagged like a fresh collapse. It was smooth in long patches, worn down by something moving through here again and again. About 20 feet down, the shaft widened into a sloping tunnel. We unclipped and moved into a staggered line. The air felt warm, too warm for this depth. Humid enough that sweat clung even though it should have been freezing underground. Condensation dotted the walls, catching the beams from our lights. Some patches of fungus gave off a faint glow, weak but real, pale green. Like tiny lanterns that barely fought the dark. Never seen that before, Danner muttered as he brushed a glowing smear with his glove. Don't touch it, I said. Could be toxic. He pulled his hand back quick. We found the first sign of the surveyors a few steps further. A helmet light busted clean down the middle. The plastic edges looked peeled, not smashed. Someone stepped on it? Collins asked. Or something crawled over it, Hutch said flatly. Next was a drop pack. Zipped halfway open, a snack bar broken in half inside. No mold, no insects. Fresh. Doctor. Pierce crouched beside it. They were here recently. Maybe hours before the collapse. Or minutes, Danner said quietly. The glove we found earlier wasn't the only one. Another one sat wedged between two rocks, fingers bent backward like someone had tried to rip it free while being dragged. Park checked her radio. Signal dying fast. I'm getting 0 from the surface. Keep it on, I told her. Even static is better than dark. We followed the main tunnel downward, boots sliding on the damp stone. The deeper we went, the more claw-like grooves appeared along the walls. Long parallel lines that matched nothing natural. Danner pointed up. Look at that. The ceiling had similar grooves, but spaced out like something long had crawled right over us, passing through this spot many times. Dr. Times. Pierce pressed her hand lightly against a section of rock. These patterns repeat. Same spacing, same depth. Territory marks, maybe. These aren't random. Gray hovered near her, eyes scanning every surface. Could just be erosion. She ignored him. Collins suddenly jerked his rifle up. Movement. We froze. Where? I whispered. There on the ceiling, something pulled back into that crack. Hutch turned his light upward. Nothing there. You sure? I asked Collins. His breath shook. It was long, pale, like a limb. He didn't lower his rifle until I tapped his shoulder. Nerves, Gray said under his breath. No, Collins snapped. I saw something. I believed him. Young or not, his eyes were sharp. We moved deeper. Dr. Pierce's handheld monitor pinged again, soft beeps echoing faintly through the tunnel. I'm picking up heat signatures. Several. Slow-moving. Larger than wolves. Could be geothermal pockets, Gray said. She shot him a look. Geothermal doesn't change direction. The tunnel forked. 2 dark openings. One carried a faint trace of scuffed stone human movement. The other was denser with claw marks and a thicker smell of wet metal. We stuck with the human trace. As we walked, the sound started, soft, weak, but unmistakably human. Help, we froze. Again, Collins whispered. Quiet, I said. The voice drifted through the tunnel. Echoed strangely. Hard to pin down. Could have been ahead or behind, or above. Doctor above. Dr. Turch, doctor. Pierce's face tightened. That's one of them. Gray stepped forward. We need to go, now. Hutch blocked him with an arm. You stay behind us. I weighed our options. The smart move was pulling back. This wasn't our mission, and something down here didn't want us around. But that voice, I remembered the old man in Syria, the one I should have pulled from the alley before the collapse, the one I failed. We push a little deeper, I said. No more than 200 feet. Then we regroup. Park swallowed but nodded. Danner tightened his grip on his rifle. Collins looked pale but ready. We moved, slow and steady. Every footstep echoed too long. The air grew thicker, almost sticky. The smell of metal got sharper. The tunnel opened into a wider passage. High ceiling, smooth floor and stretches. Too smooth. Like something slid along it often, the human signs grew clearer. Rope fibers caught on a rock. Boot scuff marks. A snapped carabiner near a boulder. But the other marks grew thicker too. Deep gouges in the walls. Overlapping arcs, hundreds of them. The faint voice came again. Closer. Help. Left tunnel, Danner whispered. I took point and edged forward. Then the clicking started again. Not faint. Not distant. Close. Rhythmic. Layered, like multiple sources chiming at once from the darker tunnel to our right. We turned our lights into the dark. Nothing moved. But something was in there, more than one. Watching. Reyes, Park whispered. We need to move. The tunnel ahead split again. The left fork. The human trace led deeper but looked more stable. The right fork. The one thick with claw marks dripped with condensation. The smell there was strong. The clicking pulsed from that direction like it was answering something only it understood. Doctor topped her doctor. Pierce looked at the heat map again. Those warm signatures, they're moving. Slowly, toward us. Toward? Danner asked. She nodded. Gray wiped sweat from his forehead. You sure? They weren't this close 2 minutes ago. The clicking spiked, faster, sharper, then stopped, all at once. The hair on my neck rose. We keep to the left path, I said. Eyes up. As we stepped forward, the tunnel swallowed us, and the air behind felt like it exhaled after holding something in. We weren't alone down there anymore. Whatever made those marks knew we'd come, and it was waiting for the next move. The left path dipped and twisted, narrow in spots where we had to turn sideways with our gear. The air got warmer the deeper we went, thick enough that every breath felt damp. Our headlamps threw shaky light across the rock, and every shadow looked like it wanted to jump. Collins kept glancing at the ceiling. It was right up there, he whispered. I swear I saw something with a long arm. Stay focused, I said. Eyes forward. But truth was, I was watching the ceiling too. Those grooves weren't just random. They were tracks, ruts from something that moved up there a lot. The path leveled out into a broad tunnel. Our boots scraped across dust and small rocks. More gear littered the ground, broken glow sticks, a torn pack strap, a few crushed markers. The surveyors had come through this way, and fast. Then something crossed our lights. Not loud, not dramatic, just there for a blink. Tall shape, lean, humanoid, moved low and quick across the tunnel about 30 feet ahead. Skin pale green-gray, wet-looking. Long limbs bent at angles no person could manage. Hands ending in hooked claws. It clung halfway up the wall as it passed, then vanished into a narrow vertical crack. Collins nearly fired. Jesus. I grabbed his barrel. Don't shoot unless it hits us. Hutch lowered his rifle too, though he looked ready. Gray's voice shook. What did we just see? You tell me, I said. Your people were down here first. He didn't answer. Dr. Pierce stared at the crack the thing disappeared into. Not scared. More stunned. That wasn't an animal. No, Danner muttered. That thing moved with intent. The clicking started again. Not from one side, from all around. Echoing through the rock. Higher pitch now. Faster. They were talking to each other. We moved forward, tighter formation. Lights steady. Fingers close to triggers. The tunnel got narrower again. Our beams bounced across the ceiling, and that's when one of them threw something. A small stone clattered off the wall next to Park. Just hard enough to get our attention. Testing us, Hutch said quietly. Like scouts. The clicking changed. Then, silence. A shape detached from the ceiling above us. It dropped fast. Silent. Too fast for something that size. Contact, I yelled. I fired first. Danner followed. The creature hit the ground between me and Hutch. Its claws scraped the stone, throwing sparks. Thick, dark blood spilled across the floor, slow and heavy, not like human blood at all. It hissed low, almost like a breath pulled through teeth, then scrambled backward with unnatural speed. It vanished up the wall into blackness, leaving a streak of that thick blood behind. Park's hand shook. Was that real? Yeah, I said. And more are coming. The clicking rose again, not random. Short bursts from different tunnels, calls and answers. They had a system. Dr. Saskeen's and Dubai. Pierce whispered, they're coordinating. The clicks change based on our movement. That's communication. Gray's face went pale. We pushed deeper, aiming toward the faint human voice we'd heard. The tunnel widened into a pocket chamber. Our light swept across it and landed on a shape slumped on a ledge 4 feet up the wall. One of the surveyors. His legs were raked open, shredded. Blood dried in long streaks across the rock where something had dragged him upward. His breathing was thin, ragged. Danner climbed up and checked him. He's alive. Barely. The man's eyes fluttered. He grabbed Danner's sleeve weakly. They took us from all sides. Ceiling, floor, everywhere. Save your strength, Danner said. The man coughed. They live above you and under you at the same time. They watch, they wait, till you're alone. Where's the other surveyor, I asked him. He tried to answer but only managed to whisper before his hand slipped. He went still. Danner checked him again, jaw tight. He's gone. The clicking rang again. Closer, louder. We're leaving, I said. Right now. We retraced our steps fast, but not fast enough. When we reached the split we'd taken earlier, part of the path had collapsed. Fresh rockfall blocked half the tunnel. Not natural. This looked forced. Like something weakened the supports or knocked it out from behind. Can we get through? Park asked. Maybe, Hutch said, but it'll be tight. The clicking grew sharper, echoing down the choke point ahead. I raised my light. Multiple eyes glowed back. Reflections scattered along the ceiling and upper walls. Not huge eyes, but numerous. Watching. Calculating. The tone of the clicking changed again. A lower one answered from deeper in the dark, like a signal passed between them. They're done testing, Danner said. This is them hunting. The eyes blinked out, one pair at a time, like they were shifting into position. We need to move, I said. Collins's breathing sped up. They're surrounding us. Stay tight, I ordered. Weapons ready, no wasted shots. From every shadow, the clicking pulsed. Closer. Deliberate. They weren't afraid of us anymore. They wanted us. We pushed into the narrow passage with the rockfall behind us and the glowing eyes fading in and out along the ceiling. The air felt hotter now, thick enough that every breath scraped the throat. My headlamp flickered once, then steadied. Park's light sputtered too. Keep moving, I said. Stay tight. Watch above. The tunnel squeezed down into a crooked hallway of stone, walls slick with condensation. Claw grooves everywhere, some old, some fresh. Some so clean they looked carved minutes earlier. The first creature hit us without warning. A pale shape dropped from a gap above and slammed into Hutch, claws raking across his pack. He staggered, fired twice into its torso. The thing barely reacted. It scrambled around him, climbed up the wall like gravity didn't matter, and vanished into a crack before we could track it. Contact rear, Danner yelled. Another shape slid from the ceiling behind Park, arms outstretched. Hutch tackled her aside, firing upward. Blood rained down thick and dark, but the creature kept moving until Hutch hit it twice more in the head. It twitched once, then fell. Not dead long. The clicking erupted all around us. Echoes ricocheted off the walls like there were dozens, maybe more. We gotta move, I yelled. We pushed forward, firing short bursts whenever shadows lunged from the ceiling or walls. The tunnels forced us into awful angles. No space to maneuver. Everything came at us from above, behind, and the sides. They moved fast and quiet like they owned the place. One of them grabbed Hutch's leg from a side crevice. He fired down, yelling, trying to brace himself. Another creature dropped from above and wrapped claws around his vest. "Hutch, hold on," Collins shouted, but the creatures pulled him up fast into the darkness above the ceiling arch. His boots scraped the stone, kicking. He screamed once, raw and terrified. Then the sound cut off. A few drops of his blood splattered onto Collins's shoulder. Collins froze. His breathing turned shaky and loud. "Don't stop," I said. "Not now." Park pushed past me to stay centered in the group. Her radio swung uselessly on her vest, nothing but static. The clicking faded for a moment, then returned from farther ahead. They were toying with us, moving as a pack, pushing us deeper. My headlamp flickered again. Collins's light dimmed, then brightened like a heartbeat. "Batteries dropping," he said, voice cracking. "Keep it together," Danner told him. "We're not dead yet." Collins nodded, but his hands shook. Hard. The tunnel forced us down a series of tight turns. The warm air became stifling. Sweat rolled down my back under my plate carrier. Ahead, the ceiling arched upward into a larger chamber. We entered slow, rifles up. Our light spread across a tall open space, maybe 30 feet high, walls ridged and grooved. Multiple tunnel openings dotted the upper parts like doorways in a hive, some round, some jagged, all worn smooth by constant movement. Above us, we heard sliding bodies, claws tapping, dozens of them shifting overhead. "Jesus," Park whispered. "Der doctor." Pierce stepped beside me, eyes wide but clear. "This is a main route. A highway for them." Bones littered one corner of the chamber. Some animal, some human, a rusted canteen, a torn backpack faded with age, a mining pick half buried in dust, old enough to be from another generation, and a cracked helmet that definitely wasn't modern. "This has been happening for decades," Pierce whispered. "Maybe longer." Gray swallowed hard. We should have done a controlled study first." "Containment." I rounded on him. "You knew something was down here," he stammered. "Not this. We picked up repeating patterns months ago, thought they were equipment echoes. But corporate didn't want to raise alarms. Didn't want to lose the contract. You kept it quiet," I said. "And now people are dead." He looked away. We didn't have time to argue. A low rumble echoed through the chamber. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Something big moved through one of the upper tunnels. "We're not staying here," I said. We hurried across the chamber toward a sloping passage that aimed upward. Maybe a way out, maybe not. A crack thundered behind us. A rockfall smashed down over the passage we'd come from, sealing it. The creatures had collapsed it deliberately, cutting off retreat. "They're hurting us," Danner muttered. "No choice," I said. "Forward." The new passage dipped into an even warmer tunnel, air like wet breath. Glowing fungus-coated patches of wall, lighting everything in sickly green. The clicking resumed from behind. Then ahead, they knew we were trapped in their system. We moved fast, stepping over broken stone and slick patches that looked like old mucus trails. My rifle felt heavier, sweat stinging my eyes. Ammo count was in the back of my head. 2 mags down already, 3 left. Danner was down to 2. Hutch had extra, but Hutch wasn't with us anymore. Park stopped suddenly, holding her small handheld camera. "Reyes, look." She angled the lens into a long alcove along the wall. The dim glows lit a row of round, leathery shapes the size of large backpacks. Dozens of them, maybe more. At first I thought they were part of the rock. Then one shifted. A thick, scaled hand rested gently on the curved surface of another. Danner whispered, voice small and cracked, "Eggs." The clicking swelled around us. Not in anger, not yet. More like warning. I lifted my rifle slowly. "Keep moving," I said. "Quiet. No shots unless they hit us." We eased past the ledge. Every egg we passed made the hair on my neck rise. The creatures didn't attack, just watched from the dark, clicking slowly like letting us pass for now. But we all knew something had changed. We weren't just in their tunnels now. We were in the heart of their territory. And they weren't going to let us leave without a fight. The tunnel spat us into another chamber, bigger, hotter, alive with soft, wet sounds. My headlamp washed over a wide cavern floor carpeted with rounded shapes. Eggs, dozens, maybe over 100, clustered along shelves and mounds, some small, some the size of a person's torso. The leathery shells pulsed slightly, like they were breathing. Steam drifted through the air from geothermal cracks in the walls. The heat made sweat sting our eyes. Every breath tasted metallic. Then we saw them. The creatures here were larger than the ones we'd fought. Broader chests, thicker scales, some scarred, some missing pieces of tail or finger-length claws. Their eyes tracked us, steady, intelligent, unblinking. Collins whispered, "Dear God, stay low," I said. "Stay slow." We edged along a narrow ledge hugging the right wall. My boots slid on the damp stone. Dr. Pierce stayed close behind me. Park pressed herself against the wall, keeping her gear tight. Danner had his rifle up, scanning. Gray trembled enough that I could hear his gear rattling. Collins slipped. A rock clattered down the ledge and bounced onto the cavern floor. Every creature in the nest went still. The clicking stopped. They turned their heads toward us in perfect sync. "Don't move," I whispered. My whole squad froze. One creature rose taller than the rest, must have been 7 feet at least. Thick muscle under its pale scaled hide. Jaw more pronounced. Its eyes locked on us with a calm focus that felt worse than rage. "That one's the leader, Doctor," Pierce whispered, voice trembling. "The Alpha didn't rush us. It studied us like it was deciding what we were worth." Gray leaned toward me, whispering too loud. "This proves everything. Intelligent life. A new species. We need containment teams. Labs. This could change." Dr. Pierce cut him off. "This isn't a lab. This is a nursery. You don't study this. You respect it." I wasn't interested in either argument. My only job was to get my people out alive. The Alpha took a step forward, claws clicking against stone. I raised my rifle, slow and careful. "We're leaving," I whispered. Something slithered along the wall above us. A younger creature lunged. It burst from the wall, claws out, snapping its jaw. I fired instantly. The round hit its shoulder. It screeched, flinching back. The sound tore through the cavern. The entire nest erupted. Clicks exploded from every direction. Dozens of them, high-pitched, angry, sharp. Creatures swarmed the walls and ceiling at once, rushing toward us. "Move," I yelled. We ran along the ledge. Claws scraped stone behind us. A creature lunged at Pard. Danner shoved it off her, firing point blank. Another dropped behind Gray and grabbed his pack, dragging him backward. "Help!" Gray screamed. A creature had him around the torso, pulling him toward a cluster of eggs like it wanted to deliver him there alive. Collins froze, panicking. "Reyes, what do we do? What do we cover?" I snapped. Danner and Park laid down fire. Rounds sparked off rock. The creature hauled Gray toward a tall egg. It didn't want to kill him. It wanted to take him. I couldn't let that happen. I aimed at the creature's arm. Fired. Hit muscle. It shrieked and dropped Gray, who hit the ground hard and rolled, scrambling back toward us. "Move!" I shouted. We sprinted toward a narrow tunnel on the far side of the cavern, a steep slit in the stone barely wider than a man. I'd spotted it the moment we entered. It was our only out. A creature lunged for Collins. Claws clipped his vest. He fell, sliding toward a pile of eggs. I grabbed his arm, yanked him back just as Danner blasted the creature's face with a short burst. The Alpha screamed behind us, deep, furious. The whole cavern shook. "Reyes!" Park yelled. "They're closing in." I turned. The swarm rushed the ledge. The Alpha leading them, no time left. I dug into my vest and pulled the last grenade. "Go!" I shouted. Into the tunnel, now. They piled into the narrow passage. I stayed last. The creatures were almost on us, crawling along ceiling and floor. One was less than 10 feet away, dragging its claws like it wanted to pin me down and tear me apart piece by piece. I pulled the pin, let the spoon fly, rolled the grenade down the ledge toward the egg clusters. Then I dove into the tunnel. The explosion ripped the cavern. Heat and dust slammed into my back. A roar echoed behind us. Eggs bursting, creatures shrieking, stone collapsing. The blast knocked several of them off the walls, but didn't stop the others. It only enraged them. The clicking rose behind the falling rock, wild, furious, echoing through every crack. They weren't going to let us walk out. They wanted us dead, and they were coming. We crawled through the narrow tunnel with the blast still ringing in our ears. Dust choked the air. The rock shook under us every few seconds. Creatures slamming against blocked passages, trying to dig through. The clicking followed. Hard, angry, close. "Keep moving," I said. "Don't stop." The tunnel angled upward, tight, claustrophobic. Our packs scraped the roof. Park's breathing turned shallow. Collins dragged one leg, injured but still pushing. Danner whispered, "You good, kid?" I'm fine," Collins said, though he wasn't. Gray wheezed behind us. They're coming. I can hear them. We all could. The clicking crawled up the walls, echoing through the stone. Every few seconds, something slammed into the rock behind us, shaking dust down like sand in an hourglass. "Reyes," Park said, "I think I see light. A faint glow ahead, cold blue-gray, real daylight. Real daylight." "Move," I said, "all the way. Go." We crawled faster, pulled ourselves over jagged rock until the tunnel widened enough to stand hunched. The final stretch was a steep, cramped fissure that forced us to climb hand over hand. Cold air rushed down the crack. We pushed up and out into the open. The sky above was dark with storm clouds, but to us it felt like freedom. The mountain slope spread below, pine trees swaying in the evening wind. Our forward sight flickered faintly miles away, tiny lights in the distance. For a second, no one spoke. Just breathing. Just the sweet silence of the surface. Then I keyed my radio. "Forward sight, this is Recon 1. We need evac, multiple casualties." "Repeat, multiple casualties. Sending coordinates now." The radio crackled clearer than it had been all day. "Recon 1, we copy. Med teams en route. Hold position." I sank to a knee. My arms shook from adrenaline. Collins sat down hard, clutching his injured leg. Danner moved immediately, tearing into his aid kit. Park staggered a few steps away and vomited into the dirt. Gray slumped against a rock, staring blankly at the mountain like it had personally tried to kill him. Maybe it had. We were pulled out within the hour. Medics swarmed us, warm blankets, IVs, morphine for Collins. All the things that come after hell tries to take you. I expected questions from command. Maybe disbelief, maybe anger. Instead, a lieutenant colonel and a man in a dark suit walked in. The suit didn't introduce himself. Didn't need to. Government type, probably tied to Gray's people. We sat in a makeshift medical tent while they listened to my report. I kept it clean, direct. No fancy words, no exaggeration. "Humanoid, lizard-like creatures," I said. "Coordinated movement. Communication. Hostile. Multiple tunnels. A nest. Eggs." The suit didn't blink. The colonel kept his face steady. When I finished, they stepped outside to talk privately for a long time. Then they came back. The colonel cleared his throat. "Staff Sergeant, the official report will state a rockfall. Unknown animal presence. Casualties due to collapse and environmental hazards." I stared at him. "Sir, that's not what happened." "Son," the suit said quietly, "there are things the public, and even parts of the government, aren't prepared to process." Dr. Pierce stood nearby, arms folded, refusing to sit. She glared at them. "People are dead." "You're going to bury this? We're containing it," the suit corrected, for everyone's safety. He handed her a non-disclosure packet. Gray, bandaged but alive, was escorted away by 2 more suits, no explanation given. Doctor stalked her. Pierce hesitated. She looked at me, then at Collins lying on a stretcher, then back at the cave entrance far below. She sighed. Not because she wanted to, because she knew if she didn't, none of us would be allowed to leave. Later, after the medics finished patching me up, I stepped outside. The storm clouds were thinning. Dawn crawled slowly over the east ridge. The mountain looked calm again, like nothing had happened, like the things below were just a nightmare. I knew better. They were still down there, and one day, someone else would dig too deep, or set up sensors, or drill for minerals and wake them again. I sat on a crate, watching the sun hit the snow patches. Guilt settled in my gut. For Hutch, for the surveyors, for staying silent. Park joined me quietly. She held her tablet against her chest. "They told me to wipe all the footage," she said. I glanced at her. "Did you?" She shook her head. One frame stabilized before everything corrupted. She handed me the tablet. A still image filled the screen. A creature's face, pale, scaled, eyes staring straight into the camera. Close. Too close. Intelligent. Park whispered. I saved a copy. I looked back at the mountain. The wind shifted. Somewhere far below, faint and deep, barely audible over the breeze. Click, 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 click. The truth wasn't gone. It was just buried, waiting. So that's the end of our video. If you made it this far, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it's free. And if you want more terrifying encounters like this one, check out the other videos on screen right now. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there. See you soon.